2023 was, in my opinion, a very good year in video games. Releases included remakes and additions to massive IPs. Successful adaptations have also reached a wider audience beyond gamers. While the cost of living prices continues to skyrocket, not everyone is able to play every game that comes out within a packed schedule. I consider myself a casual gamer. I love playing video games, but in whatever spare time I have and what I am able to afford. However, I could not look past the games that launched this past year. So in this video, I will be briefly reviewing the games I played in 2023. But before I kick off the list, I like to give honorable mentions on games that were released that I have not been able to play, but very keen to try out. Anything I did not mention but would recommend, feel free to comment below. Combining two favorite hobbies, photography and video games, Viewfinder beautifully utilizes photographs to solve puzzles. This is literally like seeing the world through different lenses. The different art styles to test perception appears to be a visually interesting concept. Narrative adventure games are one of my favorite genres. Throwing in anthropomorphic dinosaurs and rhythm minigames, Goodbye Volcano High's visual style has heightened my curiosity. The character designs look both adorable and charming. I might prepare tissues just in case. With acclaimed voice actors such as Troy Baker and Roger Clark headlining the science fiction horror game, I am curious to unfold what the story of Fort Solis is about, despite very little marketing and mixed reviews from critics. While Spider-Man 2 has been one of the most anticipated games, I could use a break from Marvel content. From what I have seen in trailers, Insomniac's new entry in the Spider-Verse looks amazing. Perhaps I will purchase a bundle collection where I can fully enjoy the series. I want to start off this list by touching on a little game I did play. The Light in the Darkness was developed by Arcade Distillery. A storybook cartoon-styled video game follows a Polish Jewish family living in France during Nazi occupation. It is by no means the most technically innovative video game. However, its use of archival footage and documentary evidence marks this an educational tool, free for everyone to play. Despite the mechanics being rudimentary and not technically engaging, its historical message was melancholically delivered. Exploring dystopian Earth as a silent spirit, After Us unfortunately suffered from frozen frame rates, confusing navigations, and bland combat mechanics. Jumping and flying through 8 areas to rescue animal spirits, Piccolo Studio developed a game that highlighted themes of humankind destruction, including violence and abuse of nature. The haunting score by Daniel Elms elevated the gameplay experience. There were visual moments throughout the game where artistically everything looked both beautiful and depressing. This was a simple game to play with a message to say. Amongst the entourage of Star Wars content that has been released in the past 5 years, Jedi Survivor was a standout. Fallen Order was an incredible game to play, so I was looking forward to finding out what happens next for Cal Kestis and the Mantis crew. Cameron Monaghan's performance as the titular Jedi Knight encouraged me to explore deeper into his character growth while also swinging that lightsaber through improved stats and smoother combat gameplay. While I did experience one game crash and multiple bugs, in between collecting items and solving tedious puzzles, the open world and main story ambitiously lifted this timeline within the Star Wars universe. Sea of Stars' retro art style made me return to playing 2D platformer games again. The turn-based, rhythm-like combat was this game's greatest strength. The story following charming characters on a magical quest were at times emotional and exciting. The puzzles were straightforward to solve but also fun, and the soundtrack has officially made my Spotify list. Despite minimal guidance on navigating progression, Sea of Stars was a delightful game to play on the go on my Nintendo Switch. As someone who never played the original Dead Space, the remake has now become my favorite survival horror game. Exploring every corner of the Ishimura was suspenseful and terrifying, thanks to the incredible sound design and lighting. With an atmosphere almost reminiscent of the film Alien, Dead Space Remake is a video game I recommend experiencing with headphones and the lights dimmed down. Smashing limbs and switching between multiple weapons made combat very thrilling, not to mention throwing zero gravity into the mix. Dead Space Remake delivered both the uneasy and unnerving feelings of what it is like to literally be lost in space. I grew up enjoying the Harry Potter series, so it comes as no surprise that Hogwarts Legacy was going to be a game I wanted to play. What I did not expect was how much the game would reignite my love for the series. Avalanche Software must be applauded for their incredible work, for not only delivering the Hogwarts castle to such definitive detail, but also to the open world map, including Hogsmeade and the Forbidden Forest. Although the main story was a flawed spell, the character side quests were worth investing my time into. In between the fun combat mechanics, decorating my room of requirement, rescuing beasts, and learning forbidden spells, my first 60-hour playthrough flew by like flying on my broomstick. Above all, the enchanting soundtrack brought back memories of listening to John Williams' classic film score. I will definitely be returning to Hogwarts, but maybe as a Slytherin. I was a Hufflepuff, by the way. Just like Dead Space, I never played the original Resident Evil 4. Despite being a scaredy cat when it comes to horror games, I was always curious when it came to the Resident Evil franchise. Thankfully, I had such a blast playing Resident Evil 4 Remake. Literally. This action-packed game starring Leon Kennedy, assigned to rescue the president's daughter, was packed with engaging puzzles, exciting combat sequences, and improved dialogue compared to the original. As of recording, there is additional content in the form of DLC titled Separate Ways, a perspective of another character. In the meantime, whether a remake of Resident Evil 5 will happen, I am keen to jumping on board the train cart, replaying this game all over again, and maybe aim for that S rank. The Super Mario Bros. Franchise has had a very successful year, with its animated film released. Super Mario Bros. Wonder was another sweet entry. Side-scrolling through colourful levels and very challenging levels, with an option to complete the game as different characters, I am proud to say Elephant Mario has now become one of my favourites. Though collecting Wonder Seeds were the main objective, unlocking Wonder Flowers added greater difficulty playing this game, triggering bizarre effects, including changes in level and character designs, or the motivation to find them all. And there is no Mario game complete without its very catchy soundtrack. The only Final Fantasy game I had played was 7 Remake. After completing my 60-hour playthrough of Final Fantasy XVI, I might check out other entries. I am beginning to understand the appeal of the Final Fantasy series. Final Fantasy XVI delivered a grand scale of the most epic boss fights I had ever played. Square Enix presented a cinematic adventure about love, self-acceptance, and power. As the engaging combat progressed, so was the world building. Reading the lore behind the characters was simply approached by the press of a button. Brilliant voice acting, breathtaking visuals, and a gorgeous soundtrack. The only flaw that prevented this from being a perfect video game were the earlier side missions that felt pointless. Looking back, they were worth it. I had experienced emotional highs and lows more than any other video game in 2023. Even if you cannot afford to spend time playing this game, check out the cinematic cutscenes, or I will just throw in the awesome gameplay that kept me going. 2023 was another successful year in gaming. I will be going more in depth about each of these games in future videos to come. I am excited for what is to come in 2024. Based on the recent announcements from this year's Game Awards, I have plenty to look forward to. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you wish to share your favourite games from this year, feel free to comment below. This is Pearl signing out, wishing you all a Happy New Year.